Good day everyone, it's me again, Christian J. Reyes. Uh, Dito na tayo ngayon sa theory ni Melanie Klein, which is the object relation theory. So, a brief background about Melanie Klein is she was born on March 13, 1882 in Vienna, Austria. And yan yung parents niya, Dr. Boris Reyes and Libusa Duch Reyes. And ang belief decline was she was unplanned child, so she had a negative connotation about her life and she felt rejected by her parents. So yun ang perception niya sa buhay niya. And at a young age kasi her sister Sidonie, yung pinaka-close niya, has died. I think that's around 9 years old si Melanie. And nung pagkamatay ni Sidonie, naging close naman siya kay Emmanuel. Pero around 21 years old or around 20s ni Melanie, namatay din si Emmanuel. So, dalawang kapatid mo na naging ka-close mo is namatay. So, parang pang MMK ang story ni Melanie Klein. And after that, at the age of 21, after mamatay ni Emmanuel, pinakasalan niya si Engineer Arthur Klein. So, kaya Klein yung apelido niya. And then, her husband was a strict man and prevented her from pursuing being a physician. So, ang ginawa ni Melanie Klein, yun, naging mabuting housewife siguro. And she gave birth to Melita, Hans, and Eric. Her eldest daughter, Melita, became one of her rivals in the field of psychology by the time she grew up. Ang ironic nga din kasi ang theory ni Klein is about the importance of relationship of the mother and the offspring, yung anak. And yet, kahit na ganun, hindi siya naging ganun kabuting nanay sa mismong anak niya na sina Melita, si Hans and Eric. Kay Eric na actually, sinayko-analyze niya yan. Kasi nung napanganak si Eric, doon napasali si Melanie Klein sa society ni na Sigmund Freud. So, pagkapanganak ni Eric, simula pa lang, sinayko-analyze na niya yan. So, yun. And, medyo maingay pala, no? Pasensya na, nasa labas kasi ako. Ewan ko kung may noise cancellation to, pero yun. Maingay, focus lang sa boses ko, guys. Yan. Si Klein, she claimed that her theory is Freudian. Kahit si Sigmund Freud mismo disagreed with her. Kasi ang theory niya is focuses more on the maternal rather than the paternal aspects of development. Kay Freud kasi focus ang father and the male. Pero kay Melanie, importante ang nanay. And her daughter, Melita, was also a psychoanalyst and became hostile to her because of the lack of tamang arugan ng bata sina Melita, Hans and Eric. And Melanie focused analyzing children as opposed to Freud of analyzing adults. So a specialty ni Klein is analyzing children. Her rival in the field was Sigmund Freud's daughter, Anna Freud. So that's a way of view of Melanie. So what is object relation? Object relation, it emphasizes the interpersonal relations, primarily in the family and especially between mother and child. So ito ang main gist ng object relation theory. And object, what do we mean by the object in the theory? Object, ito yung mismong tao na significant dun sa bata and the object or target of another of his or her feelings or intentions. So relation naman, this is the interpersonal relation and suggests the residues of past relationships that affect a person in the present. Sabi ni Klein, our first object relation daw is our parent, and most of the time the mother. And while Freud focused on the first to 6 years, Klein emphasized the importance of the 4 to 6 months after birth. So kung si Freud 4 to 6 years, si Klein 4 to 6 months. So sanggol pa lang talaga yung mga bata. So kung tanong mo lang paano niya nagawa ang makabuo ng theory sa 4 to 6 months ng mga baby. So, yung objects, another naman to, tawag dun, nakakawindang na theory is important daw sa mga bata yung breast, yung vagina and penis, because objects yun sa mga infants. And Klein stressed that the children's relation to the breast is considered to be a prototype for later relationships toward his or her parents and other individuals, specifically future romantic partners. So how is it different from Freud's psychoanalysis? Sa psychoanalysis kasi biological ang focus, pero sa object relation, consistent patterns of interpersonal relationships. So more on social siya, pero specifically interpersonal relationships. So yun, more maternal ang object relation, stressing the intimacy and nurturing of the mother. Object relations theorists generally see human contact and relatedness, not sexual pleasure, contrary to Freud's psychoanalysis, is the prime motive of human behavior. So, human contact and relatedness ang prime motive of human behavior sa object relation theory. So, psychic life of infants. May tinatawag tayong fantasies, PH, sa mga kaya yung spelling PH. PHANTASIES. Pagkapanganak pa lang, meron ng good and bad na unconscious images yung mga bata, which we refer to as fantasies. And objects, these are drives or instincts. Drives or instincts must have an object. And tandaan yung drives, yung hunger, sleep, yung sex, aggression naman sa psychoanalysis. And sa objects, ito na-apply or na-exert yung mga drives na yon. And Klein believed that an infant relates their drives to external objects both in fantasy and reality. So, both conscious and unconscious. Different positions. Meron tayong different positions according to the theory. They all infants, sabi ni Melanie, always struggle in the dichotomies of good and bad, life and death, love and hate, creativity and destruction. So, ang first position, bakit siya tinawag na position? Kasi, based sa discussion natin, pwede siyang magpabalik-balik. Hindi siya phase na once na natapos na dun sa phase na yon, tapos na. Sa position, pwede kang paranoid schizoid position, tapos nag-depressive, or pwede kang babalik dun sa paranoid schizoid, then liwas pwede kang magbalik-balik sa mga position, unlike sa phases na linear sila. Sa paranoid schizoid position, develops during the first 3 or 4 months of life, and it is a way of organizing experiences that includes both paranoid feelings of being persecuted and a splitting of internal and external objects into the good and the bad. So, ang pinakatatandaan lang sa paranoid schizoid position is merong paranoid feelings of being persecuted and splitting na nangyari. Uh, sa splitting, inahati, literal, ng bata ang isang object into either good or bad. Either lang sa dalawa. And they cannot distinguish yet that a human person or an object can be good and bad at the same time. So dito sa paranoid schizoid, either good ka lang or either bad ka sa paningin ng tao, infant na nasa paranoid schizoid position. The ego's perception of external world is subjective and fantastic rather than objective and real. So yun, hindi siya necessary anchored to reality. Pwede siyang maging subjective. Depende sa trip ng mga infants. Infants have a biological predisposition to attach positive value to nourishment and the life instinct. So kapag nagbe-benefit sila sa pagsuso sa nanay, na-associate nila yon sa life instinct. And binibigyan nila ng positive value or nagiging maganda yung tingin nila sa bagay na, or object na yun. And the infant then identifies the source as an object of drive or instinct which he desires to be in control with. So, kapag na-view na nila na good yung object na yon, they will identify the source as an object of drive or instinct. So, na may makukuha ko dito sa object na to. Yun ang realization ng mga infants. And then, magkakaroon sila ng desire para makontrol yung nourishment na makukuha nila mula sa object. And most of the time, sabi nga kanina, ang first object relation natin is the breast. And there are two types of breast. Kapag na-identify ng bata kung anong klaseng breast yun, they will split that into either two lang, the bad breast or the persecutory breast, and the ideal breast or the good breast. Sa persecutory breast, which provide frustrations to an infant and are incapable of providing love, care, and comfort. This allows the child to develop the urge to destroy it by biting, tearing, or even annihilating it. So kapag na-identify ng bata na walang nourishment sa isang breast, they will split that breast into persecutory breast. No? Tapos gagawa sila ng paraan para sirain yun. Either kinakagat nila, ganyan. Infant to, remember. Hindi nila alam na mali yung ginagawa nila kasi nga splitting, nasa paranoid schizoid position sila, na either tinitignan lang nila yung bagay as either good or either bad, walang in between, walang nasa gitna, either extreme good or extreme bad. And then sa ideal breast naman, or the good breast, mas kilala yun sa tawag na good breast. This breast provides nourishment and care together with love, comfort, and gratification where infants aim to devour and harbor. So dahil may gratification and nourishment sa ideal breast, they aim to devour and harbor that feeling of love, comfort, and gratification from that ideal breast. So sa pagsuso nila. So after ng paranoid schizoid position, nagkakaroon naman ng depressive position. Nadidepress sila. And then, sa depressive position, nagsastart yan age 5 to 6 months. Months pa rin, no? Kung sa paranoid schizoid, 3 to 4, 5 to 6 ang depressive. Pero sa tingin ko naman hindi lalabas yun sa QuizBee. Ayaw ni sir numbers, ganyan. Sa sa DepSci lang maraming ganun. Sa TOP wala naman. Ayun, sa depressive position, infants feel excuse me. Sa depressive position, infants feel the anxiety of losing a loved object accompanied by the sense of guilt, for wanting to destroy that same object. Dito, nare-realize na nila na yung good breast and bad breast is iisa lang, and nasa nanay lang nila yon. And if na-identify nila yun as good or bad breast, I mean, magigilty sila na sirain yung object na yon, kasi nga they also perceive it as good. They perceive it as their mother, or the object na attached na sila kumbaga dun sa object na yon. Kaya dadalawang isip na yung infant kung ba't ko sisirain to, kasi good naman siya eh. May mga times na siguro na bad. Kaya kumbaga dito sa depressive position na nagkakaroon ng anxiety na mawala yung object na yon, kasi alam na nung infant na the object can be good and bad at the same time. Kasi dito sa paranoid schizoid, either good or bad lang. Dito kasi sa depressive, it's a mixture of both. Sana naintindihan yun. So sa psychic defense mechanism, medyo similar siya sa Freud introjection. This is when infants fantasize about taking into their body these perceptions and experience that they had with the external object, originally the mother's breast. So sa introjection, they imagine that they fantasize ini-imagine nila or fantasize nila na maipasok sa katawan nila yung object na yon. Yun, gaya ng breast. Yan, binapasok sa bibig ng infant. And when good objects were interjected, nakakatulong yon sa pagbuo ng ego from anxiety. Tandaan yon. When a good breast is interjected, it helps the infant to be protected. It helps the infant's ego to be protected from anxiety. Pero kapag bad object ang introject, they become internal persecutors of themselves. For example, meron tayong example dito. Infants will fantasize that their mother is constantly present. That is, they feel that their mother is always inside their body. The real mother, of course, is not perpetually present, but infants nevertheless devour her in fantasy so that she becomes a constant internal object. So, kapag yun, makikita ng bata na good breast ang isang object, yung nanay, hindi pinafantasize ka na maipasok sa katawan yung object na yun and constantly be there, kahit na in reality hindi naman magiging totoo yun, or hindi naman possible na palagi nandyan yung object throughout the life of the infant. So infants project their own feelings and impulses which actually reside in another person and not within them. So sa tawag dito, yung mga infants, pinaproject daw nila yung feelings nila and impulses. Pero yung feelings na yun, hindi naman sa kanila talaga. Pero na-introject lang nila from the object. Sana gets yun, no? Pinaproject nila yung mga, kumbaga, kinukuha nila yung yung notion of good breast and bad breast. Ni-introject nila yon, and then pinaproject nila yung feelings and impulses nila. Nakakala nila sa kanila siguro, pero nagre-reside pa rin sa ibang tao at hindi sa kanila. Later, anuhin natin yan. Children usually project good and bad images of their parents. Yan, nasa na to, depressive position. Adults sometimes project their own feelings of love onto another person, become convinced that the other person loves them. So, object relation, kapag daw nagmahal ka, pinoproject mo, even though sa life instinct tayo, sa tao, and you think na, mahal ka din ng tao yun. Yan, may crush ka ganyan. Isip mo, pinaproject mo yung mga good qualities mo sa kanya, ganyan. And then, isipin mo, crush din siguro ako ng crush ko, ganun. So, ganun, parang ganun nakikita ang early concepts ng object relation sa atom life. So, another psychic defense mechanism in the object relation theory is splitting. Splitting is, but, dalawang beses ko sinabi. Ano yun? Splitting enables infants to see the positive and negative side of themselves or others. It may be both beneficial and destructive since it may recognize the good me and the bad me. So, sa splitting, literal na hinahati. Hindi actually literal. Figuratively, hinahati yung mga objects into either good or bad. Sabi dito na, pwede siya maging beneficial and destructive. Beneficial kasi nakikita nung bata na may mabuti at hindi magandang aspects yung tao, ganyan, or yung object na nakaka-relate sila. And then, if na-identify nila yun, mapupunta sila sa depressive position and accept na yun, meron ng qualities yung ganit, yung object, may bad qualities yung object na to, pero kahit ganun, I still love them or still treat them as a good or as a life source for me. Pwede din siya maging destructive. Paano? Kasi kapag kunwari, na-split ang isang object, tapos nag-focus na lang dun sa badness or dun sa bad qualities ng object na yon, tapos hindi na nabuo ulit or hindi na napunta ulit yung tao, yung infant, yung children dun sa depressive position. Kunwari, sa isang relationship na naman, o dito tayo ulit sa relationship, sa splitting, kunwari, pag in-split mo yung jowa mo, i-split mo siya into either good or bad, yung mga green flag niya or yung mga red flag niya, ganyan. Kapag beneficial siya sa isang relationship, kasi doon mo makikita na may mga good qualities and bad qualities yung jowa mo. Pero nagiging destructive siya kapag nag-focus ka na lang dun sa negative na aspects, yung mga red flag ng jowa mo, and in-ignore mo na yung mga good qualities niya, yung mga aspects ng good breast. Yun. So, ang splitting ay pwedeng makatulong at pwedeng makasira din ng relation natin sa mga object. Pero in the context of splitting sa mga infants, it enables infants to recognize the good me and the bad me, kasi hindi lang naman tao or other people ang object, diba? Ang object pwede rin sarili. So yun, nakakatulong siya at nakakasama ang splitting for a while. Dito naman tayo sa projective identification, another psychic defense mechanism in which infants splits off unacceptable parts of themselves, project them into another object, and finally introject them back into themselves in a changed or distorted form. So, paano nangyayari itong projective identification? Una, ini-split nung infant yung unacceptable parts niya sa ibang tao. Sorry. Ini-split mo na yung unacceptable parts splitting. May splitting na involved. And then next, after splitting, they project that unacceptable part to another object, to people most of the time. And people naka-close niya. Mga parents, friends, parents, mother. And then after projecting those unacceptable parts, and yung mga object na projectan niya is in-project yun. Baga, in-adapt nila yun. Yung infant nun, they introject the unacceptable parts back to themselves, pero distorted form na. Hindi na siya kamukha ng siguro in a sense hindi na siya giging acceptable na siya. For example, yung sa case niya na Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Si Johnny Depp, he has a tendency to dominate. Meron daw siya tendency to dominate. Tapos, meron din siyang tendency to be submissive. Ang ginawa niya ngayon is he split that unacceptable part of himself na nagiging dominant sa asawa ni si Amber Heard. And then pinroject niya yon kay Amber, which is in-introject naman kinuha ni Amber Heard, so naging dominant si Amber. And then when the time passed, in-introject ulit ni Johnny Depp yung pagiging dominant ngayon, pero hindi na siya kamukha nung nauna niyang in-split at the first time. Siguro sa una, aggressive yung in-split niyang pagiging dominant, pero dun sa in-introject niya ulit, kasi naging makikita mo naman din in a sense naging dominant si Johnny Depp dun sa case, sa trial mismo ni nila Amber and Depp. Naging hindi lang siya actually dominant dun pati yung lawyer niya, nakalimutan ang pangalan ng lawyer niya. Pero ayun, ganun nangyayari ang projective identification. Split unacceptable parts, project them into another object, the object introjects them, and then the original the infant or the origin kung saan kanino lang galing yung splitting, ini-introject back niya yung parts ng self niya in a distorted manner. So sana gets yun. Final internalization kasama ba ito sa psychic defense mechanism? Sandali. Kasama yata. Or sa ego. Well, ego, it is also the core of personality in object relation theory, kagaya ng kay Carl Jung, analytical psychology. So sabi ni Freud, the id dominates a child's unconscious. And sabi naman ni Klein, the ego, though weak and unorganized, can already feel anxiety, and it's strong enough to use different mechanisms at this stage. So parang sinasabi ni Freud, ang dominant personality ng isang bata ay ang id, no? Pero kay Klein, ang ego, kahit na mahina ang ego, it can already feel anxiety, which makes it strong enough to use different mechanism dun sa stage na to. And sabi din ni Melanie Klein, the superego, mas maaga yung emergence ng superego kesa sa inakala ni Freud. Kasi kay Freud, ang emergence ng superego na nangyayari pa lang sa after ng Oedipus complex, diba? Pero for Klein, she believed that the superego, mas maaga siya. Hindi siya around 7 or sa phallic stage. Mas maaga siya. And sabi din niya, mas ano daw, mas harsh and cruel yung superego sa at a young age or earlier stages in life. And sabi niya, instead of guilt, hindi guilt ang nararamdaman ng mga bata from not following the superego or the moral or the ego ideal and conscience, to be specific. Hindi guilt, kundi terror, takot. Bakit takot? So, let's dive into Oedipus Complex by Melanie Klein. So, sa Oedipus Complex, nangyayari siya sa earlier stage of life. And parang castration anxiety to or castration complex. Pero walang aspect na napuputulan ng penis or penis envy din. Ang sinasabi lang ng Oedipus Complex in interpretation of Melanie Klein is that it is a significant part of in the child's significant part of it represents the child's fear of retaliation from his or her parents. Ang fear ng retaliation from the parents is what drives the Oedipus Complex. Ano ba yung retaliation? Na baka gumante yung parents sa bata. Yun, retaliation. And the child's retention of positive feelings toward parents enable this child to recognize between good and bad. So wala siyang dito, castration complex. Or meron, baka di ko lang nabasa. Pero magkaiba din yung audible development ng female and males. So sa girl, ito yung process niya. Girl sees her mother as her mother's breast as both good and bad. So nasa depressive position siya dito. So, in 6 months, she sees the breast as better. This continues and leads to imagining how babies are made. So yun. Then girl arrives at the knowledge that it is because of the father's penis. So, na-imagine na nalaman niya na magaling sa penis ng tatay yung babies. Kaya, she develops a positive feeling toward the penis and the father as well. And ang tawag dito is a feminine position. Position siya. Sabihin, pwede magpabalik-balik yung mata doon. Pwede siya makalis. And positive relation with parents. If not conquered, girl will see mother as rival and develops a paranoid fear of retaliation from her. Or fear of retaliation. Hindi siya penis envy. Dito pala yung penis envy katapos. This paranoid fear is alleviated when the time comes that the girl gives birth to her own child. So, nare-resolve lang daw yung paranoid fear na yon of retaliation kapag nanganak na mismo yung babae later in life. And the penis envy and internalization of father's penis precedes any desire for an external penis. So, yung desire daw ng or internalization ng female child sa ng tatay is a requirement to desire another person's penis. So yun, nagagaling sa daw sa tatay ang desire or dun sa experience na yun. Kaya sa romantic partners nila, kailangan daw na ma-internalize muna nila yung sa tatay. So yun, contrary to Freud's idea, Klein found no evidence of girl blaming her mother for not having a penis. So walang womb wandering dito for Melanie Klein. Hindi siya naniniwala doon. So sa male audible development naman, magkaiba. The sa, the boy sees the breast as good and bad. So same siya sa female. Pero dito in early months, oral desire transports from breast to father's penis. So nag-iiba, diba? Ang isip, baka maisip ng iba tawag doon. Sa mother, ang parang sexual desire ng male audible development. Pero hindi. Sabi ni Klein, nagkakaroon ng feminine position yung young boys, and they desire their father's penis. And boy develops passive homosexual attitude towards father. So, magiging homosexual yung bata towards their father. And it then proceeds with the heterosexual feelings for mother. Sabay yan. And the passive homosexual feelings for father is required for healthy heterosexual relationship with mother and other women in later years of life. So, importante siya sa relationships in the future. Sabihin na ba di maganda yung hindi. Boy must have positive feelings of his father's penis before he can value his own. So palaging may involvement ng penis kaya sa audible development. And solution to resolve audible complex for both genders is to allow the child must accept and allow his or her parents to have sexual intercourse with each other. And after that, the boy sees parents as cold objects. So nagkakaroon ng mas malalim depressive position, both good and bad, and helping him work through his depressive position. Yun. Tapos na-review na ng bata na good and bad and parents. Nawawala na yung passive sexual feelings. And then, sa goals of object relation therapy naman, ang simple lang ng theory ni Klein, no? Meron lang siyang position and then psychic defense mechanism. And then, for the treatment, focuses on showing the client that they can improve relations and interactions with others by removing the object that they naturally attach to events and people. So, paano ginagawa yon? Ang mga therapists ng object relation, mas sumusunod sa object relation theory, inaalis yung relation natin or ng client sa object na nakagisnan nila. Kunwari, may bad object silang na-introject. Inaalis yun sa parang sistema or thinking ng client. Yeah, they're moving the object. Kunwari, isip ng client is bad breast ang nanay, ganun, or may mga pangit na ugali. And the goal of object relation therapy is to remove those thoughts or remove those relation that we associate with the object and build new ones na mas healthy and mas mas magiging acceptable sa society. At inaalis siya para mabawasan din yung fear or anxiety ng tao. So, in object relations, the therapist to client relationship is seen as a mirror of the mother to child relationship. So, yung therapist, siya nag-act na as mother, yung client, siya yung child na ginaguide siya. So, kung ano hindi nararanasan nga ng child, ipaparanas ng therapist. So, may concept dyan ng tawag doon, transference. So, kailangan magkaroon ng positive feelings yung yung client sa therapist, para maging successful yung therapy session. Yun. So, that's all for the object relation theory itself. naging sikat si Melanie Klein. Hindi lang sa theory niya kasi kundi pati sa mga later theories na nag-bloom dahil sa object relation. Apat yan. Si Mahler, si Kohouts. Kohouts ba? Kohout lang pala. Si Kohout, Bowlby, and si Ainsworth. Yan. May mga theory sila na related sa object relation. So, first kay Margaret Mahler muna. For Mahler, an individual's psychological birth begins during the first weeks of postnatal life and continues for the next 3 years or so. So, may tinatawag si Mahler na psychological birth. Psychological birth, ang minimean na sa psychological birth ni Mahler is an accomplishment by the infant that leads ultimately to a sense of identity. Nag-lead siya to a sense of identity. Yun lang ang psychological birth. Kasi kapapanganak ng bata eh. Kung merong physical birth, meron tayong psychological birth according to Mahler. And there are stages of development. Ano to? Ilan to? 3. The first stage is the normal autism, which occurs 3 to 4 weeks old after the pagkapanganak. And ito ang diagram sa normal autism. A newborn infant satisfies various needs within the all-powerful protective orbit of a mother's care. So, ang mother, imagine nyo, siya yung blue, and yung red, siya yung child. Si mother, or si child, nakapalibot pa rin siya sa mother. Nasa loob siya ng orbit niya. And neonates have a sense of omnipotence. Because like unhatched birds, their needs are cared for automatically and without their having to expend any effort. Yun. Spoon feed sila yung mga bata, yung child. Kasi nasa bilog pa rin sila ng leg ng mother. Kailangan alagaan ni mother si child. Kasi kung hindi siya makakadepende dito, mamamatay ito. And she referred to normal autism as an objectless stage, a time when an infant naturally searches for the mother's breast. So wala pang object, and ibig sabihin nun, wala pang object relation yung bata sa breast ng nanay. Hinahanap pa lang. So after 4 to 5 weeks old, magpo-proceed na nun sa second stage, which is the normal symbiosis. Yan. Makita nyo dito na yung mother and child naghiwalay na sila. Pero at the same time, they are still surrounded by dual unity within one common boundary. Kasi common boundary nila yan yung yellow. And by this age, the infant can recognize the mother's face and can perceive her pleasures or distress. Pero ang sabi nila, hindi naman daw perfect symbiosis. Kasi yung child, umaasa siya sa nanay. Pero nanay, hindi naman siya umaasa sa child. Kapag symbiosis kasi, both individuals or creatures are dependent on each other for life. So, siguro may iba yung symbiosis pangalan. Pero either way, it's still a symbiosis in a broader sense. Sabi lang ni Sir, pero may point si Sir doon na hindi naman talaga siya symbiosis. So dito naman sa third stage, which occurs to 5 to 36 months old, which is the longest. Kasi dito magiging ng bata from 5 months, tapos 12, 24, 36, 3 years old, separation individuation. Haba siya kasi meron siyang subphases. Pero bago yon, the children here at this stage become psychologically separated from their mothers, achieve a sense of individuation, and begin to develop feelings of personal identity. Tapos napaperceive na ng child na delikado ang outside world. Wow, lumabas siya sa bahay ni Kuya. So, overlapping four stages, sub-stages of separation and individuation. So, sabi, yan, overlapping sila. Sa differentiation, 5 to 10 months, maalis na yung bata sa orbit ng nanay. Ganito siya. Separation, individuation. Sa practicing, the children easily distinguish their body from their mothers, establish a specific bond with their mother, and begin to develop an autonomous ego. So dito, nagpa-practice na sila, literal, na yung umalis yung bata sa piling ng nanay. Pero bago yun, nagkakaroon muna ng parang realization, iba ako sa nanay ko. May sarili akong katawan, and may sarili siyang katawan. And ako, meron din, pero despite that, nagkakaroon pa rin ng bond with the mother. Sa rapprochement, 60 to 25 months, the infant, or di na siya infant dito actually, the child desire to bring their mother and themselves back physically and psychologically together. So, ito sa rapprochement, di ba nga, na-realize na nung bata na sa practicing na magkaiba sila ng identity or na hindi sila one ng mother niya sa practicing and sa differentiation. Sa rapprochement, they seek to bring their mother and themselves back physically and psychologically together. Yun. Lumalapit ulit yung bata sa nanay. And then sa libidinal object constancy, which walang nilagay na na month. During this time, the child must develop a constant inner representation of their mother to tolerate being physically separate from her. So dito, parang sa ni Melanie Klein, no? Imagine, hindi naman kaya ng nanay na every time padidein niya yung anak niya. And hindi naman every time na nandyan yung nanay is, or every time na so so nasa na ako dun sa hindi every time nandyan yung parent para tawag dun kagaya ng iniisip nung infant. So dito sa libidinal object constancy, nasasanay na yung bata na siya, hindi na siya infant na kahit wala yung nanay, may representation pa rin yun sa utak ng bata na lagi lang nandiyan yung nanay kahit hindi niya nakikita. In a sense, parang object permanence. Kaso in psychological psychoanalytic terms. So any errors in the first 3 years, the time of psychological birth, may result in later regressions to a stage when a person had not yet achieved separation from the mother and thus a sense of personal identity. So if magkaroon man ng error dito sa first 3 years na to, it may result in later regressions sa bata. Sa stage pala na nagiging dependent sila, hindi nila kaya maging separate from the mother. So that's it for Margaret Mahler. Next is Heinz Kohut. So for Heinz Kohut, Makibasa na lang 'to. Meron sa theory ni Heinz Kohut, merong concept ng mirroring in which the caregiver's ability to reflect back a child's emotions, behaviors, and needs in a way that helps them feel seen, valued, and understood. So mirroring, basically, pinaparamdam ng caregiver yung emotion and positive feelings ng bata pabalik sa kanya. So mirroring is an action that is done by the parent or the caregiver. Pinabalik lang nila yung, kunyari, mga bata mag-project ng positive feelings towards the caregiver, and then yung caregiver, i-mirror niya yun, gagayahin niya yun, or tawag dito, gagawa siya ng paraan to make that child feel safe. Yeah. So meron tayong two narcissistic needs sa theory ni Kohut. The grandiose exhibitionistic, dito na nangyayari yung mirroring. So yun, after na mirroring, nafe-feel ng bata na nabavalidate yung gusto niya, and merong approval for their behavior. So another narcissistic need is the narcissistic self-image. If both narcissistic and self-image are necessary for personality development. Yung primary narcissism and secondary narcissism, yun ang sinasabi niyang both narcissistic self-images dyan. Pero however, kailangan mabago yung primary and secondary narcissism, kasi pag hindi siya nabago, it will result to pathological narcissistic adult personality. So sinabing as said dun sa theory ni Freud about forms of sex narcissism, kailangan ma-alter yung primary narcissism and secondary narcissism para hindi maging pathological narcissistic yung bata pagtanda niya bilang adult. Yun lang yung kay Heinz Kohut. So kay naman, John Bowlby, attachment theory, siya nagpauso niyan. Siya may kasalanan kung bakit may attachment issues tayo. Joke. Yun, so sabi ni Bowlby na attachments are formed during childhood and they become important in adulthood. So sa separation anxiety, meron three stages. Protest stage, despair, detachment. Sa protest, when the caregiver is first out of sight, infants will cry, resist soothing by other people, and search for their caregiver. So sa protest stage, stages to actually nangyayari siya in a successive, tawag tuloy-tuloy. So protest stage, aalis yung caregiver out of sight, iiyak yung bata, tas pag may tumating na stranger or other people, ayaw niya sa mga taong yun, and it will search for their caregiver. While sa despair naman, habang nagko-continue yung separation, nagiging detached, or hindi pala detached, not the exact word, nagiging quiet, nagiging malungkot, and parang in a sense wala nang pakialam yung bata sa despair. Sa detachment, during this stage, infants become emotionally detached from other people, including their caregiver. So dito, hindi sa despair kasi nagiging quiet lang sila. So there's still a possibility na kumausap sila ng ibang tao. Pero sa detachment, emotionally detached na sila even to the caregiver themselves. So, siguro after nun, nagsisimula na yung uh, avoidant or anxious attachment styles. And then sa after ng detachment. Pero most of the time avoidant siguro. So there are assumptions of attachment theory. First, a responsive and accessible caregiver, usually the mother, palagi naman, or most of the time must create a secure base for the child. And the infant needs to know that the caregiver is accessible and dependable. If this dependability is present, the child is better able to develop confidence and security in exploring the world. So, nasa hands ng caregiver yung magiging tawag ba? Comfort ng bata and yung para ma-develop yung confidence niya exploring the new world. Bukang nakadepende sa parents yung attachment style ng mga bata. And second, bonding relationship or lack nun becomes internalized and serves as a mental working model in which future friendships and love relationships are built. So, kung paano nagbaband yung mga bata and yung caregiver is nagiging prototype for future friendships and relationships. Yun lang. First, kailangan na responsive parenthood or caregiving to create a secure base for the child. And second is bonding relationship becomes important in friendships, future friendships, and love relationships. So, ang assumptions ni Bowlby. And kay Mary Ainsworth, meron tayong strange situation experiment. Di siya theory experiment siya. So dito sa theory ni na Ainsworth, nalaman nila na mayroong 3 na attachment styles, and later na lang yung disorganized. Nakalimutan ko sino yung theories. Pero 3 lang sila originally. Sa strange situation kasi, aalis yung nanay, titingnan nila yung reaction ng bata, kaya mag-enter na stranger, aalis yung titingnan nila yung expression ng bata with the stranger, aalis yung stranger, babalik yung nanay, titingnan yung expression pagbalik nung caregiver. So for the meron nga silang 3 nalaman na attachment style. First is the secure attachment. When their mother returns, infants are happy and enthusiastic and initiate contact. For example, they will go over to their mother and want to be held. Kapag anxious resistant attachment naman, infants are ambivalent. Hindi nila alam gagawin. When their mother leaves the room, they become unusually upset, and when their mother returns, they seek contact with her but reject attempts at being soothed. Magtatampo sila pagkaalis ng nanay, pero pagbalik ng nanay, they want to be soothed pero aayaw sila. Sa loob-looban nila gusto nilang malambing, pero they choose not to be because nasa nila yon, nasa attachment style nila yon, anxious resistant. Meron din tayo, last one is the anxious avoidant. With this style, infants stay calm when their mother leaves, they accept the stranger, and when their mother returns, they ignore and avoid him. So dito, parang detached na yung bata sa anxious avoidant. They stay calm when their mother leaves, wala silang pake, pero pag ibang tao na yung nandyan, they talk to them, they accept the stranger. Pagbalik ng nanay, hindi na nila pinapansin yung nanay, they avoid her altogether. Kaya avoidant, anxious avoidant. Secure attachment, they cry, they ask for soothing For anxious or resistant, they cry and they are ambivalent. They cry after the mother leaves, and when the mother comes back, they resist soothing, but kahit gusto nila, they want to be contact. They want contact, but they resist of being soothed. Ayaw nila magpalambing. Ang gulo, no? Kaya ambivalent din describe ni Mary Ainsworth. Sa anxious avoidant, they avoid soothing and ignore the mother altogether. Oh, yun. That's it for object relation theory and later theories in object relation. Ayun lang. Thank you guys.